There is a question that haunts the corridors of human ambition, whispered in the quiet moments when we dare to dream beyond our current circumstances. Why do some people effortlessly accumulate wealth while others, equally intelligent, equally hardworking, remain trapped in cycles of financial mediocrity? The answer is not found in the strategies you've been taught. It's not hidden in some secret investment formula or entrepreneurial blueprint. The answer lies in a place most people refuse to look: the shadowed depths of their own psychology. What you're about to discover challenges everything you've been conditioned to believe about money. This is not another motivational sermon about positive thinking or working harder. This is something far more dangerous, far more powerful. This is the truth that wealth is not built from the outside in, but from the inside out. It is constructed in the hidden architecture of your identity, in the unconscious patterns that govern your every decision, in the philosophical framework that determines what you believe is possible for your life. Over the course of this journey, we will descend into the psychological underworld where your relationship with money was forged. We will confront the invisible forces that have been sabotaging your success without your awareness. We will draw wisdom from the darkest philosophers of human nature, from Machiavelli's understanding of power, from Jung's exploration of the shadow self, from Nietzsche's doctrine of self-overcoming. And when we emerge, you will possess something far more valuable than knowledge. You will possess a transformation of your very being. This video is not for those seeking comfortable lies or easy shortcuts. It is for those brave enough to look directly at the mechanisms of their own psychological imprisonment and strong enough to break free. The knowledge you are about to receive is transformational, but only if you have the courage to apply these teachings with absolute commitment. If you are ready to rebuild yourself from the ground up to become the kind of person for whom wealth flows naturally, then let us begin. The greatest obstacle to your wealth is not external. It is not the economy. It is not your circumstances. It is not lack of opportunity. The greatest obstacle is invisible, operating beneath the threshold of your conscious awareness. It is the psychological blockage that was installed in your mind before you even understood what money was. From the moment you entered this world, you began absorbing beliefs about money like a sponge absorbs water. You watched how your parents spoke about money, usually with tension, with fear, with resentment. You heard phrases repeated so often they became part of your unconscious programming. Money doesn't grow on trees. Rich people are greedy. We can't afford that. Money is the root of all evil. These weren't just words. They were incantations, spells that shaped the very structure of your financial reality. This is what psychologists call money conditioning, and it runs deeper than you imagine. Every time your parents argued about bills, every time they sighed at the mailbox, every time they spoke with envy or disdain about those who had more, they were teaching you an emotional relationship with money. And that emotional relationship became the invisible ceiling above your ambitions. But here is where it becomes truly insidious. Carl Jung spoke of the shadow, the part of ourselves we refuse to acknowledge, the aspects of our personality we've rejected and buried in the unconscious. Your relationship with money lives largely in this shadow realm. You consciously desire wealth, but unconsciously, you may be programmed to reject it. This is the mechanism of self-sabotage, and it operates with surgical precision. Listen carefully to this truth. You will sabotage any success that conflicts with your unconscious identity. If deep in your shadow self, you believe that rich people are immoral, you will unconsciously destroy your own wealth to maintain your sense of moral purity. If you carry shame about wanting money, you will find ways to lose it as soon as you acquire it. If your identity is built around struggle, you will create struggle even when unnecessary, because without it, you wouldn't recognize yourself. This creates two distinct fears that paralyze potential. The fear of failure is obvious, the anxiety that you will try and fall short, exposing your inadequacy to the world. But there is another fear far more powerful and far more hidden: the fear of success. The fear that if you actually become wealthy, you will lose yourself, betray your values, abandon your roots, become someone you despise. This fear operates entirely beneath conscious awareness, yet it governs your every move. Here is the uncomfortable truth. You have an identity ceiling, a psychological limit to how much wealth you can accept without experiencing cognitive dissonance. If you see yourself as someone who struggles, someone who is underappreciated, someone who never quite makes it, then wealth becomes a threat to that identity. And your mind, in its desperate need for consistency, will reject wealth to preserve identity. Many people become addicted to their poverty mindset, the way others become addicted to substances. There is a perverse comfort in victimhood, in blaming external forces, in the familiar territory of lack. The poverty mindset provides excuses, it absolves you of responsibility, it gives you a tribe of fellow sufferers with whom to commiserate. Breaking free from this addiction requires you to relinquish these secondary gains, and that terrifies most people more than poverty itself. Now we must examine the philosophical foundations, because philosophy is not abstract contemplation. Philosophy is the operating system of your mind, determining what you perceive as possible, what you believe about human nature, what strategies you deem acceptable. And 3 men understood the mechanics of power and wealth with brutal clarity. Niccolò Machiavelli is often misunderstood as advocating pure ruthlessness, but his actual insight was far more sophisticated. Machiavelli understood that power is not about force, it is about perception. He understood that strategy requires seeing the world as it is, not as you wish it to be. He taught that those who build empires do not wait for permission from the moral gatekeepers of society. They create their own rules, they shape perception deliberately, they understand that power gravitates toward those who understand power. For wealth building, this means recognizing that money flows toward those who understand the game being played. It means accepting that moral posturing without strategic action leads nowhere. It means understanding that the world rewards those who create value, but more importantly, those who capture that value through intelligent positioning and strategic leverage. Machiavelli would tell you that your financial success depends less on your virtue and more on your understanding of interests, timing, and strategic relationships. Jung's contribution goes deeper still. He revealed that within each of us exists a shadow self, containing all the qualities we've rejected about ourselves. If you've been taught that ambition is selfish, your ambition lives in your shadow, sabotaging you through unconscious means. If you've been taught that wealth is corrupt, your desire for wealth becomes a source of shame, and that shame creates self-destructive behavior. The Jungian path to wealth requires integration, accepting and incorporating the shadow rather than fighting it. This means acknowledging your desire for power without shame. It means recognizing your strategic, self-interested nature without guilt. It means embracing the fullness of your being, including the parts that want dominance, luxury, and recognition. Only through integration can you stop the unconscious sabotage that has been destroying your financial potential. Then there is Nietzsche, the philosopher of power and self-overcoming. Nietzsche understood that humans are not motivated primarily by happiness or comfort, but by the will to power, the drive to expand, to overcome resistance, to become more than what we are. He saw that true growth requires suffering, requires the death of your weaker self, requires the courage to stand alone against the mediocrity of the masses. Nietzsche would tell you that your poverty is not an accident of circumstances. It is the natural result of your unwillingness to overcome yourself. Every day you choose comfort over challenge. You choose the familiar over the unknown. You choose the approval of others over your own expansion. You have become a slave to your own weakness, and no economic system, no opportunity, no strategy will save you until you develop the will to power over yourself. The difference between desire and will is everything. Everyone desires wealth. That desire is cheap, it is common, it is worthless. Will is different. Will is the capacity to impose your vision on reality despite resistance. Will is the ability to continue when desire fades. Will is the transformation of yourself into someone capable of achieving what your current self cannot. Philosophy matters more than motivation, because motivation is emotion, and emotion is fleeting. Philosophy is structure. It is the foundation upon which will is built. This brings us to the central truth that will determine your financial future. You earn according to who you are, not what you know. Information is abundant, freely available, worthless in isolation. What is rare, what is valuable, what determines outcomes, is identity. Show me who you are at your core, and I will predict your financial future with alarming accuracy. Your current identity was not chosen consciously. It was installed by your environment, your experiences, your interpretations of events. But identity can be consciously reconstructed. This is not about affirmations or pretending to be someone you're not. This is about deliberately designing and embodying a new self-concept through systematic practice. The future self-model is your blueprint for this reconstruction. Close your eyes and imagine yourself 5 years from now having achieved the financial success you desire. Do not imagine having the money. Imagine being the person who naturally attracts and manages that money. Who is that person? How do they think? How do they spend their time? What are their standards? What do they refuse to tolerate? What does discipline mean to them? That future self is not a fantasy. That future self is a template, a target identity that you deliberately grow into through your daily choices. Every decision you make is either moving you toward that identity or away from it. Every choice is a vote for the person you are becoming. Identity is not discovered. It is constructed through repetition, through the consistent choosing of who you decide to be. Discipline is not effort. Effort implies resistance, implies forcing yourself to do what you don't want to do. That approach is exhausting and unsustainable. True discipline is identity. When you are someone who values excellence, discipline is not effort. It is simply who you are. The writer writes not because they force themselves, but because they are a writer. The wealthy person makes strategic decisions about money not through willpower, but because they are someone who does that. Most people are trapped in psychological loops, patterns of thought, and behavior that repeat endlessly without conscious awareness. You think the same thoughts, feel the same emotions, take the same actions, and wonder why nothing changes. Breaking these loops requires awareness first, then intervention. You must catch yourself in the moment of pattern repetition and consciously choose differently. This is uncomfortable. It creates cognitive dissonance, and that discomfort is exactly what signals growth. Now, let us speak practically about the habits that construct wealth. These are not suggestions. These are requirements, non-negotiable practices that separate those who succeed from those who merely dream. Begin each day with an intention ritual, not mindless routine, but conscious intention. Before you reach for your phone, before you surrender your attention to the world's demands, you take back your mind. Sit in silence and ask yourself, who am I choosing to be today? What is the most important thing I must accomplish? What thought patterns must I interrupt? This simple practice reclaims your mental sovereignty and sets the trajectory for your entire day. Study must become systematic, not random. Your mind is your only true asset, and like any asset, it must be continuously developed. Study money, not just how to make it, but its nature, its psychology, its movement through systems. Study psychology to understand yourself and others. Study philosophy to build the mental frameworks that will support your long-term growth. Dedicate 1 hour each day to this study, non-negotiable, and watch as you develop perspectives that others lack. The deep work session is where wealth is actually built. Everything else is preparation. Deep work means 3 to 4 hours of uninterrupted, cognitively demanding work on your highest leverage activities, not email, not meetings, not busy work. Deep work on the creation of value, whether that's building a business, developing skills, creating products, or solving complex problems. Protect this time as sacred, because it is sacred. This is where your future is constructed. But deep work is impossible in an environment of distraction, and we live in an age designed to fragment your attention. Every notification is a hijacking of your consciousness. Every social media scroll is a theft of your potential. Every dopamine hit from instant gratification weakens your capacity for delayed gratification, which is the very essence of wealth building. You must become ruthless in eliminating these distractions. Delete the apps, silence the notifications, create barriers between yourself and the easy dopamine that is destroying your future. Understand this principle deeply. Consistency defeats intensity. The person who works strategically for 2 hours every single day will accomplish infinitely more than the person who works frantically for 12 hours once a week. Wealth is not built through heroic bursts of effort. It is built through the compound effect of intelligent action repeated over time. Make your practices so consistent they become automatic, so regular they require no decision. Build anti-fragile routines, systems that become stronger under stress rather than weaker. When your routine depends on perfect conditions, it will crumble under the inevitable chaos of life. But when your routine is built to accommodate disruption, when it has fallback options and minimum viable versions, it survives and adapts. The wealthy do not have perfect days. They have resilient systems. Your environment is not neutral. It is either supporting your transformation or undermining it, and most environments are actively hostile to ambition. Look around your living space right now. Does it inspire focus, or does it enable distraction? Is it organized for productivity or chaos? Every object, every color, every spatial arrangement is sending signals to your unconscious mind about who you are and what is expected of you. Remove triggers of reactivity from your environment. If you are trying to build discipline around food, remove junk food from your home. If you are trying to build focus, remove the television from your workspace. If you are trying to build wealth, remove the symbols and reminders of poverty consciousness. Your environment should be designed to make your desired behaviors easy and your undesired behaviors difficult. Your social environment is even more powerful and more difficult to change. You are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with, not because they tell you what to do, but because they establish what is normal. If your circle believes that wealth is impossible or immoral, you will unconsciously conform to that belief to maintain belonging. If your circle is complacent, your ambition will seem excessive and threatening. If your circle is cynical, your optimism will be mocked into submission. This is the Machiavellian principle. Control your territory. Control your destiny. You must be strategic about who has access to your attention, your time, your mental space. Some people elevate you, they challenge you, they hold you to higher standards. Others drain you, they reinforce your limitations. They pull you back toward mediocrity out of their own fear. You owe them kindness, but you do not owe them your future. Distance is often an act of self-preservation. Design your physical environment to enforce discipline, not to reward it. Do not wait until you feel motivated to arrange your space properly. Arrange your space to create motivation. Make it easier to work than to procrastinate. Make it easier to focus than to distract. Make it easier to build wealth than to avoid building wealth. Now we must address a concept that has been corrupted by mystical nonsense, yet contains a powerful psychological truth, the law of attraction. Not the magical version sold by gurus, but the actual cognitive mechanism by which your beliefs shape your reality. Your brain contains a filtering system called the reticular activating system, and its job is to determine what information from the overwhelming flood of sensory data deserves your conscious attention. It does this based on what you've told it is important through your focus, your beliefs, your habitual thoughts. When you believe something is important, you literally begin to see opportunities related to it that were always present, but previously invisible to you. This is why visualization without action is poison. When you merely visualize success, you receive the dopamine hit of imagined achievement without the achievement itself. Your brain cannot distinguish well between vividly imagined experiences and real ones, so it treats the visualization as accomplishment, reducing your motivation to actually do the work. This is psychological masturbation, pleasurable, but ultimately sterile. True manifestation is intention plus behavior. You must hold a clear vision of what you want to become, and that vision must be reinforced through daily action that proves to yourself and your unconscious mind that you are serious. Each action is evidence that you are becoming your vision. Each repetition strengthens the neural pathways associated with your new identity. This is not mysticism. This is neuroscience. Emotional alignment means your feelings must match your vision. If you claim to want wealth but feel anxiety and unworthiness around money, you are emotionally misaligned, and you will sabotage yourself. If you claim to want success but feel resentment towards successful people, you are emotionally misaligned, and success will be impossible. You must clear the emotional blocks, integrate the shadow, and cultivate genuine positive emotion toward your desired outcome. The difference between delusion and belief is action. The delusional person insists they will be wealthy while taking no steps toward wealth. The believer holds the same vision but backs it with systematic, intelligent effort. Belief is not hoping something will happen. Belief is the certainty that drives committed action. Faith is not religious. Faith is psychological. Faith is the capacity to hold a vision under pressure, to continue moving forward when evidence suggests stopping, to maintain internal certainty when external circumstances scream doubt. This is not blind optimism. This is the recognition that all significant achievement requires a period of faith, a time when results have not yet manifested, but commitment must remain absolute. Progress in wealth building is rarely linear. There will be long periods where you work hard and see little external result. This is where most people quit. They interpret the absence of immediate reward as evidence of failure, and they abandon the path just before breakthrough. Emotional regulation is the skill of maintaining equilibrium during these periods, of continuing to execute your strategy despite frustration, doubt, and impatience. The difference between delusion and belief becomes clear in how you respond to obstacles. The delusional person denies problems, insisting everything is fine when it clearly is not. The believer acknowledges obstacles honestly while maintaining faith in their eventual overcoming. Delusion is fragile, collapsing at the first sign of difficulty. Belief is anti-fragile, becoming stronger through challenge. You need spiritual clarity, a sense of purpose beyond mere accumulation. Money without meaning is hollow. Wealth without a worthy goal is just a number. You must know why you are building wealth, what it serves, what you will do with it. This clarity provides fuel during difficult periods and ensures that achieving wealth actually brings satisfaction rather than emptiness. But spiritual clarity without practical action is equally useless. You must combine vision with execution, purpose with strategy. Let us now turn to practical strategies for actually generating money, because philosophy without application is merely intellectual entertainment. The foundation is identifying your monetizable skills, the abilities you possess that others need and will pay for. Most people underestimate their own value because they assume that what comes easily to them must be easy for everyone. This is false. Your natural abilities, your acquired knowledge, your unique combination of skills has value in the marketplace. Make a complete inventory of your skills. What can you do that others cannot? What knowledge do you possess that others lack? What problems can you solve? What do people ask you for help with? The answers to these questions reveal your monetizable value. The next step is turning skills into money through product, service, or content. A product is your skill packaged into something that can be sold repeatedly. A service is your skill applied directly to solving someone else's problem. Content is your skill shared to build an audience that can be monetized through various means. Most people can pursue all three simultaneously. There are high-value skills that multiply your earning potential exponentially. Writing is power because all business is communication, and those who communicate effectively have disproportionate influence and income. Persuasion is power because value must be captured, and persuasion is the mechanism of capture. Design is power because humans are visual creatures, and visual communication bypasses rational resistance. Technology is power because it scales, allowing you to create once and distribute infinitely. Sales is power because nothing happens until something is sold, and great salespeople are always in demand. Develop these high-value skills obsessively. Each one is a multiplier of your income potential. Combined, they make you nearly unstoppable in the marketplace. The wealth triad is the framework for sustainable income. Solve problems, provide value, capture value. Most people fail at the third step. They solve problems, they provide value, but they fail to capture appropriate compensation because they are uncomfortable asking for money or uncomfortable valuing their own contribution. Solving problems means identifying what people need, what they struggle with, what they will pay to have fixed. Providing value means delivering a solution that actually works, that creates a real transformation. Capturing value means confidently charging what you are worth, and creating systems to collect payment efficiently. All three must be present. Here is the force multiplier. One skill can generate 3 income streams. If you are skilled at writing, you can offer freelance writing services, you can create written products like books or courses, and you can build an audience through content that generates opportunities. Each skill you master opens multiple revenue pathways. This is how you stop trading time for money and start building leveraged income. Now we must speak of Nietzsche's path, the cycle of self-overcoming that separates the strong from the weak. This is not comfortable, but it is essential. The victim mindset is the greatest obstacle to wealth, and it is epidemic. The victim sees themselves as acted upon by forces beyond their control. They collect evidence of unfairness. They build cases for why success is impossible for them. They find comfort in blaming others. You must kill this mindset without mercy. Every moment you spend in victim consciousness is a moment stolen from your potential. Yes, unfairness exists. Yes, some people start with advantages. Yes, the system is often rigged. None of this matters. You are still responsible for your outcome. You still must act despite disadvantage. You still must overcome despite obstacles. Accepting this burden is liberation because it returns power to you. Overcome resentment and comparison, the twin poisons of ambition. Resentment toward those who have more than you is psychic poison that corrodes your capacity for achievement. When you resent success, you cannot become successful because your unconscious will reject what you consciously resent. Comparison is equally toxic because there will always be someone ahead of you, and measuring yourself against others is measuring yourself against an infinite standard. Instead, embrace solitude for growth. The crowd will never understand your transformation because the crowd is comfortable in mediocrity. Your journey requires periods of isolation, of choosing your development over social belonging, of being misunderstood by those who have not done the inner work. This is the price of transformation, and it must be paid. Power through repetition, not motivation. Motivation is a feeling, and feelings are unreliable. You cannot build wealth on the foundation of fleeting emotion. You build wealth through the power of repetition, through showing up every single day regardless of how you feel, through making the disciplined choice so many times that it becomes automatic. You must become stronger than your excuses. Every human has excuses available, an infinite supply of reasons why today is not the day, why this is too hard, why circumstances are against them. Your excuses are creative, compelling, and completely irrelevant. You are either building wealth or building excuses, and you cannot do both simultaneously. Finally, we arrive at what no one wants to discuss openly: the Machiavellian social strategy, the understanding that success is not just about competence, but about perception, positioning, and strategic relationships. This makes people uncomfortable because we prefer to believe in meritocracy, that the best simply rise to the top. But this is naive, and naivety is expensive. Authority is constructed through perception. People follow those they perceive as authoritative, regardless of actual expertise. This means you must deliberately craft your presentation, your positioning, your communication to signal competence and confidence. This is not fakery. This is understanding that perception precedes opportunity. Look valuable before you are. This sounds cynical, but it is strategic. The person who looks like they are successful attracts more success because success gravitates toward apparent success. This means investing in your appearance, your environment, your associations before you can technically afford it. This is not about expensive clothes or fake luxury. This is about signaling that you operate at a higher level than your current circumstances. Smart networking is not about collecting contacts. It is about building strategic alliances based on mutual benefit, not friendships based on emotion. Business relationships should be driven by shared interests and complementary capabilities. You need to understand what you bring to the table, what others need, and how to position yourself as valuable to those who can accelerate your journey. Understanding interests, power, and timing is the core of Machiavellian strategy. Every person acts according to their interests, not their stated values. If you want to influence outcomes, you must understand what people actually want, not what they say they want. You must understand power dynamics, who has leverage, who needs what. And you must understand timing, when to act and when to wait, because the same action at different times produces vastly different results. Strategic silence is more powerful than constant self-promotion. The person who talks constantly about their plans dilutes them, invites criticism, and reveals their hand to potential competitors. The person who works in strategic silence and reveals results rather than intentions maintains mystery, avoids premature judgment, and surprises the world with accomplishments. Calculated exposure means controlling when and how you reveal yourself. Share victories, not struggles. Share results, not processes. Share confidence, not doubt. This is not dishonesty. This is understanding that the world rewards those who manage their image intelligently. We must now integrate these three streams of wisdom: Jung's mastery of the inner world, Nietzsche's cultivation of strength and will, and Machiavelli's understanding of strategy and power. Wealth is not created by one approach alone. It requires internal alignment, personal power, and strategic positioning. Jung teaches you to know yourself completely, to integrate your shadow so you stop unconscious self-sabotage. This is the internal foundation without which no external strategy will succeed. Nietzsche teaches you to develop will, to overcome your own weakness through repetition and challenge, to become stronger than your circumstances. This is the engine of growth. Machiavelli teaches you to understand the game being played, to position yourself strategically, to use relationships and perception to accelerate your rise. This is the mechanism of leverage. Money becomes the byproduct of internal alignment. When your unconscious programming supports wealth rather than resists it, when your identity is that of someone who naturally creates and manages money, When your daily actions reflect this identity consistently, wealth is not something you chase. Wealth is something that flows toward you as the natural consequence of who you have become. This is wealth as identity plus behavior plus strategy. Identity determines what you believe is possible and natural for you. Behavior is the systematic execution of wealth-building activities. Strategy is the intelligent positioning and relationship building that multiplies your efforts. All three must be present and integrated. Your final transformation path is clear. You begin with inner foundation, doing the psychological work to clear trauma, integrate shadow, and rebuild identity. You develop outer strategy, learning the practical skills and strategic positioning that create market value. Your new identity drives new habits, and those habits produce new results. The results reinforce the identity, creating a virtuous cycle. You are building a life that matches your ambition, not limiting your ambition to match your current life. This inversion is everything. Most people adjust their dreams to fit their circumstances. You must adjust your circumstances to fit your dreams. This requires patience because external reality lags behind internal transformation, but it also requires unwavering commitment. You become the person who attracts wealth naturally. Not someone pretending, not someone striving desperately, but someone for whom wealth is the obvious outcome of their way of being. This is the ultimate goal of this entire framework. If this video has reached you, if these words have struck something true within you, then you are ready for transformation. Subscribe to this channel because we will continue this journey together. Like this video so it can reach others who are ready to break free from psychological prison and build real wealth. The knowledge contained here is not theory. It is the distilled wisdom of those who understood human nature at its deepest levels. Apply it with commitment and everything changes. But we are not done. What we have established so far is the foundation, the internal architecture upon which wealth is built. We have prepared the ground, cleared the obstacles, built the mental frameworks. Now we must discuss the advanced tactics, the strategies that take you from foundation to empire. This next section is not for everyone. It requires the foundational work to be in place. It requires a certain ruthlessness, a certain willingness to see reality without moral filters. If you are ready, then let us continue. We have covered substantial ground. You have learned about the psychological blockages installed in childhood that create invisible ceilings around your financial potential. You have explored the philosophical frameworks of Machiavelli, Jung, and Nietzsche, understanding how strategy, shadow integration, and will to power combine to create unstoppable momentum. You have examined the critical role of identity in determining outcomes, recognizing that you earn according to who you are, not what you know. You have been given the foundational habits, the practical strategies for generating income, the frameworks for emotional regulation, and environmental design. You understand the wealth triad of solving problems, providing value, and capturing value. You have been challenged to kill your victim mindset, to embrace solitude for growth, to become stronger than your excuses. But this is merely the defense, the protective foundation that prevents self-sabotage and creates stability. What comes next is the offense, the active strategies for accelerating wealth accumulation, for positioning yourself in the market, for building systems that generate income while you sleep. These advanced tactics require everything we have discussed to be in place. Without the foundational work, they will fail or backfire. But with the foundation solid, they become extraordinarily powerful. The next strategies are more aggressive, more controversial, more demanding of your courage and strategic thinking. They are the tactics used by those who build empires, not those who build comfortable lives. They require you to think several moves ahead, to position yourself before opportunities are obvious to others, to make calculated risks that terrify the average person. If you are ready to move from student to practitioner, from theory to empire building, Then pay close attention to what follows. The first advanced tactic is understanding and implementing strategic positioning before you are ready. Most people wait until they are perfectly qualified before they claim a position of authority. This is a catastrophic error because by the time you feel ready, the position has already been claimed by someone less qualified, but more strategic. Strategic positioning means claiming territory in the marketplace before you have fully earned it through traditional metrics. This is not about lying or deceiving. This is about recognizing that authority is granted by perception, and perception can be deliberately constructed. If you position yourself as an expert in a particular domain, speak with confidence about that domain, and provide value in that domain, the market will accept your claimed position before your credentials technically justify it. This requires understanding the difference between competence and perceived competence. Actual competence is necessary for long-term sustainability, but perceived competence is necessary for initial opportunity. You need both, but the order matters. Most people build competence first and hope to be discovered. This is passive and ineffective. The strategic approach is to build sufficient competence, then amplify perceived competence through positioning, and use the opportunities that perception creates to build greater actual competence. This is the mechanism by which unknown people become known. They claim authority before the credentials exist. They deliver enough value to justify the claim, and the claim itself creates opportunities to develop greater ability. It is a bootstrapping process, and it requires courage because you will feel like an imposter. The secret is that everyone feels like an imposter. The difference is that some people act despite the feeling while others are paralyzed by it. Practical implementation means identifying a niche where you have sufficient knowledge to provide real value, but where you are not yet recognized as an authority. Create content that demonstrates your expertise, speak with confidence about your domain, network with others in adjacent domains, and present yourself as the expert you are becoming. The opportunities that flow from this positioning will force you to develop greater expertise, creating a virtuous cycle. The second advanced tactic is building asymmetric leverage, creating situations where small inputs produce disproportionately large outputs. Most people trade time for money in a linear relationship, 1 hour of work for 1 unit of compensation. This is a trap because time is finite, and linear relationships do not scale. Wealth is built through asymmetry, through creating once and selling many, through building systems that work without your direct involvement, through capturing value from the efforts of others. Digital products are pure asymmetry. You create a course, a template, a piece of software, or any digital asset once, and you can sell it infinitely with no marginal cost per sale. After the initial creation effort, every additional sale is nearly pure profit. This is why digital products are the foundation of modern wealth for individuals. You must identify knowledge or skills you possess that can be packaged into digital products. Building a personal brand is asymmetric leverage because a strong brand allows you to charge premium prices, attract opportunities without outreach, and create products that sell based on your reputation rather than extensive marketing. Your brand is built through consistent, valuable content, through strategic visibility in your domain, and through delivering on your promises every single time. A personal brand is asymmetric because once established, it works for you continuously, without ongoing effort proportional to the returns. Building teams and hiring is asymmetric leverage because you capture value from the productivity of others. If you can hire someone whose output generates more value than their cost, you have created leverage. If you can build a team of such people, you have created exponential leverage. Most people fear management or delegation, which keeps them trapped in linear income relationships. Mastering the ability to effectively lead others unlocks an entirely new scale of wealth creation. Investment is asymmetric leverage because your money works for you rather than you working for money. This requires capital to begin with, which is why investment comes after establishing income streams. But once you have capital, deploying it intelligently into assets that appreciate or generate cash flow creates passive income and wealth accumulation that continues without your labor. This is the transition from earning money to having money work for you. The third advanced tactic is manufacturing luck through strategic exposure. Most people believe luck is random, a matter of being in the right place at the right time by chance. This is false. Luck is the collision of preparation and opportunity. An opportunity can be manufactured through systematic exposure to possibility. If you want to build wealth through business partnerships, you need to be in environments where potential partners exist. This means attending industry events, joining mastermind groups, participating in online communities where your ideal collaborators gather. Each interaction is a lottery ticket, and the more tickets you have, the more likely you are to win. But you must be prepared to recognize and seize opportunity when it appears. Create serendipity machines, systems that continuously expose you to new people, ideas, and opportunities. A content platform is a serendipity machine. When you publish valuable content consistently, you attract people who resonate with your message, some of whom will become clients, partners, or collaborators. You never know which piece of content will create which opportunity, but you know that systematic content creation will create opportunities. Networking deliberately, rather than passively, means having a clear strategy about who you want to connect with and why. Research people whose trajectory you want to emulate, reach out with genuine value rather than asks, and build relationships before you need them. Most networking fails because people only reach out when they need something, which is transparent and repellent. Strategic networkers build relationships consistently and provide value continuously, so when they do need something, there is reciprocal goodwill. Say yes to opportunities that stretch you, even when you feel unready. Every significant opportunity in your life will feel like too much, too soon, too risky. If you only say yes when you feel completely comfortable, you will only experience opportunities that are beneath your potential. The wealthy understand that growth requires discomfort, and they have trained themselves to move toward fear rather than away from it. The fourth advanced tactic is deploying ruthless resource allocation and strategic elimination. Most people diffuse their efforts across too many projects, too many relationships, too many commitments. This creates the illusion of productivity while preventing meaningful progress on anything. Wealth is built through concentration, through identifying the highest leverage activities and eliminating or delegating everything else. Conduct a brutal audit of how you spend your time, your money, and your attention. For each activity, ask, does this directly contribute to wealth building, or is this a distraction I have rationalized as necessary? Most of what fills your schedule is neither urgent nor important, but you have habituated to it, and habits are difficult to break even when they serve no purpose. The 80-20 principle applies with brutal force to wealth creation. 20% of your activities produce 80% of your results. Your task is to identify that 20% and eliminate as much of the remaining 80% as possible. This requires saying no constantly, declining invitations, abandoning projects that are not working, and disappointing people who expect your time and energy. Strategic elimination is more important than strategic addition. The wealthiest people are not doing more things than everyone else. They are doing fewer things with more focus and intensity. They have eliminated distractions ruthlessly. They have simplified their lives to create maximum space for their highest value activities. This is counterintuitive because our culture celebrates busyness, but busyness and wealth are often inversely correlated. Batch similar tasks to reduce context switching. Context switching, moving from one type of task to another, has a significant cognitive cost. Each switch requires your brain to reconfigure, which consumes energy and reduces effectiveness. Batching means grouping similar tasks together and completing them in dedicated time blocks. Answer all emails in one session, make all phone calls in one block, create all content in focused periods. This reduces switching costs and increases deep work capacity. The fifth advanced tactic is creating and exploiting information asymmetries. Markets reward those who know something others do not, whether that information is about opportunities, problems, solutions, or changing conditions. You must become obsessed with gathering intelligence in your domain, understanding what is happening before it becomes obvious, and positioning yourself to benefit from your superior information. Read voraciously and widely, not just in your field, but in adjacent fields, because breakthrough insights often come from connecting ideas from different domains. Spend time with people who know things you do not, who have access to different information flows. Information is power, but only if you seek it systematically and use it strategically. Develop unique insights by thinking deeply about problems in your domain. Most people skim the surface, accepting conventional wisdom without examination. You must go deeper, questioning assumptions, examining mechanisms, understanding root causes. When you develop insights that others have not yet grasped, you have created an information asymmetry that can be exploited for profit. Move quickly when you spot opportunities that others have not yet recognized. The greatest returns come from being early, from seeing what is coming before the crowd sees it, from positioning yourself before the opportunity becomes obvious. This requires courage because early moves feel risky, they lack social proof, and you will often be wrong. But when you are right, the returns are exponential. Share knowledge strategically. There is a balance between being generous with your knowledge to build reputation and being protective of your most valuable insights to maintain competitive advantage. The framework is this: share freely about the what and why, which builds your authority and attracts opportunities. Be more selective about the how, especially if the how is proprietary or represents a competitive advantage. This balance allows you to be seen as valuable while maintaining strategic edge. The sixth advanced tactic is engineering and optimizing your peak performance state. Wealth building is a marathon, not a sprint, and sustained high performance requires deliberate management of your physical, mental, and emotional state. Most people operate in a reactive state, responding to circumstances rather than proactively managing their capacity. This is inefficient and unsustainable. Your biology is your foundation. Without physical health, cognitive performance degrades, emotional regulation becomes difficult, and sustained effort becomes impossible. This means prioritizing sleep as non-negotiable, because sleep deprivation destroys executive function and decision quality. It means eating in a way that stabilizes energy rather than creating spikes and crashes. It means moving your body regularly, because physical movement is necessary for mental health and cognitive function. Develop keystone habits, single habits that create positive cascades in other areas of your life. Exercise is often a keystone habit because when people exercise regularly, they naturally eat better, sleep better, and feel more motivated. Morning routines are keystone habits because they set the trajectory for the entire day. Identify your keystone habits and protect them with absolute commitment. Manage your energy, not just your time. Time is democratic. Everyone gets the same amount. Energy is variable, and it is the actual determinant of what you can accomplish. This means understanding when you have peak cognitive performance and reserving that time for your most demanding work. For most people, this is the first few hours after waking. Protect this sacred time for deep work. Never waste it on administrative tasks or meetings. Engineer recovery into your system because performance is not about constant effort. It is about cycles of effort and recovery. Take real breaks where you completely disconnect from work. Take real days off where you do not check email or think about projects. Take real vacations where you allow your mind to rest and integrate. The wealthiest people understand that sustainable performance requires planned recovery, and they build it into their systems. The seventh and final advanced tactic is building systems of compound growth. Compound growth is the most powerful force in wealth creation, the mechanism by which small, consistent gains become exponential over time. Most people fail to achieve compound growth because they constantly start over, shifting from strategy to strategy rather than staying the course long enough for compounding to work its magic. Identify activities that compound, where today's effort makes tomorrow's effort more effective. Writing compounds because each piece builds your portfolio, your audience, and your skill. Learning compounds because each new concept provides context for understanding future concepts more easily. Reputation compounds because each delivered promise makes the next promise more believable. Relationships compound because maintained connections create networks that generate increasing opportunities. Create feedback loops that accelerate learning. After each action, pause to extract the lesson. What worked? What did not? What would you do differently next time? This reflection transforms experience into wisdom, and wisdom compounds much faster than mere experience. Most people repeat the same year of experience 20 times, rather than gaining 20 years of compounding wisdom. Build assets that appreciate and generate cash flow. This is the ultimate compound growth mechanism. An asset that appreciates in value while generating income creates exponential growth. Real estate is the classic example, but there are many forms of appreciating cash-flowing assets: businesses, intellectual property, investment portfolios. Your goal is to transition from selling time to building assets. Reinvest profits into growth rather than consuming them immediately. The person who makes money and immediately increases their lifestyle will remain on the treadmill forever. The person who makes money and reinvests it into skill development, team building, marketing, or additional assets creates accelerating growth. Live below your means until your means are so substantial that living well is effortless. Think in decades, not quarters. Compound growth is imperceptible in the short term and miraculous in the long term. The person who optimizes for 10-year outcomes makes very different decisions than the person optimizing for 1-year outcomes. The wealthy are playing a long game, while everyone else is desperate for quick wins. Your transformation is now complete. You possess the foundational psychology, the philosophical frameworks, the practical strategies, and the advanced tactics required to build substantial wealth. Everything from this point forward is execution. You know what to do. The question is whether you will do it, not once or twice in a burst of inspiration, but every single day with absolute commitment for as long as it takes. The world will not make this easy. You will face doubt, both internal and external. You will encounter setbacks that feel like proof that this path is not for you. You will be tempted to quit when progress seems too slow, when others seem to be succeeding faster, when the old comfortable patterns beckon you back to mediocrity. This is where most people fail. This is where you must be different. Remember that you are not the person you were when this video started. You have been given a framework, a philosophy, a path. You have been shown that wealth is not luck or inheritance, but the inevitable result of identity, discipline, and strategy. You have been challenged to become someone for whom wealth is not just possible, but natural. The only remaining question is whether you will honor this gift with committed action. Build your wealth, transform your life, become the person you were always meant to be. And when you have succeeded, when you have proven to yourself that everything discussed here is true, share this knowledge with others who are ready. The world needs more people who understand that wealth begins in the mind, that freedom is possible, and that transformation is available to anyone willing to do the inner and outer work required. Now go. Build your empire. Don't forget to give a like or a hype and subscribe to the channel. Watch the next video to complete everything you just learned.